in the tales of herding gods. When I'm dead, he might as well help me take care of my body. After I left Heavenly Saint Sect in your care, I wish to wander the world under the heavens. There are still lots of places in the world I haven't been. Who could have known that the handsome young man, with a pure and ethereal temperament like that of an immortal, was, in truth, an old man whose life burned like a flickering candle in the wind. That inconceivable contrast, none other than Patriarch Wen Yuan, the founder of the Heavenly Saint Sect, known by the title, Forever Young. Through cultivating the creation innate art, his youthful appearance was forever frozen at the age of boyhood. From then on, the world called him the Youthful Patriarch. Long ago, it was he who brought Granny Sai, then only 13 years old, back to the Heavenly Saint Sect, bestowed upon her the title of Saintess, and arranged for her to pay respects to the then sect master, Lai Qianqing, as her teacher. Yet, what he could never have foreseen was that Lai Qianqing, unable to suppress his desires, sought to take Granny Sai as his wife, an act that led to his own death. Granny Sai, carrying the sacred canon, disappeared without a trace for 40 long years. Patriarch Wen Yuan never once abandoned his hope of finding her, for according to the traditions of the Heavenly Saint Sect, whoever slays the previous sect master shall become the new one. After Lai Qianqing's death, the Heavenly Saint Sect fell into chaos, a serpent without its head. Meanwhile, Wen Yuan realized with piercing clarity that his own great calamity was approaching. Finding a successor had become more urgent than ever. At last, they discovered Granny Sai's whereabouts, in the village of the disabled, deep within the great ruins. Ironically, after his death, Lai Qianqing had turned into the heart devil within her. Without the aid and suppression of the elders of the great ruins, her body would long have been taken over by him. Granny Sai could not leave, nor did she wish to. Yet if she refused to accept the position of successor, she would forever bear the name of the sect master's murderer, a blood debt that must be repaid in blood. As the 360 branches of the Heavenly Saint Sect gathered at the great ruins, tension filled the air like a drawn bowstring, ready to unleash a storm of bloodshed. At that moment, Granny Sai recommended Qin Mu to her patriarch, placing all her faith in the belief that Qin Mu possessed the strength to lead the Heavenly Saint Sect. To protect Granny Sai, Qin Mu began a period of intense training under the tutelage of his grandfathers, preparing himself for battle, and one by one, defeating the 360 branches of the Heavenly Saint Sect. Qin Mu's performance was not only extraordinarily brave and powerful, but the fact that he did all this for Granny Sai proved the depth of his loyalty and devotion. Patriarch Wen Yuan fully acknowledged this remarkable youth, and before all members of the sect, he proclaimed Qin Mu the young sect master. 3 years later, Patriarch Wen Yuan summoned Qin Mu to the Jiankang nation. By his own calculation, he had only about 7 years of life remaining. Thus, Qin Mu had no choice but to hasten his growth along the path of cultivation. After entering the Imperial College, Qin Mu, with a single elegant sword strike, made a resounding name for himself during the examinations. At last, he was granted an audience with his patriarch. When asked for his thoughts on Jiankang, Qin Mu expressed his admiration. That here, divine arts and Dharma were truly being used for the benefit of the common people. Though some chaos still lingered, he believed that in time, this nation would surely rise to unparalleled prosperity. Seeing Qin Mu's depth of insight, Patriarch Wen Yuan posed another challenge. If the national preceptor and the emperor of Jiankang were to turn against the Heavenly Saint Sect, how would you respond? Qin Mu stood before two paths. The first was to withdraw completely from Jiankang, but the sect's 360 branches had already taken deep root among the people. To retreat would be to destroy their own foundation. The second was to align themselves with the imperial court of Jiankang. The patriarch's temper flared. You dare speak such words? Shall I take your head? Yet the reasoning in Qin Mu's words echoed his own hidden thoughts, and so, with a sigh, he stayed his hand, letting Qin Mu's head remain upon his shoulders. Still, Qin Mu's vision extended far beyond the present. He pointed out that within both the imperial court and the imperial college, the noble families still held overwhelming power. In less than 200 years, the scions of aristocracy would find no place to stand, the common people would grow restless. When Jiankang plunged into turmoil, that would be the golden moment for the heavenly saint sect to rise again. Once more, the patriarch grew angry. What he longed for was not a sect that sought dominion, but a world where the people could live in peace and stability. For the core doctrine of the heavenly saint sect was, the sage understands the way, and serves the people in their daily lives. The truths Qin Mu spoke of, Patriarch Wen Yuan had long pondered himself. Years ago, when the national preceptor of Jiankang came to seek discipleship, Wen Yuan had already foreseen that the man's future achievements would one day surpass his own. Thus, they became friends rather than master and disciple. He had still passed on the teachings of the sect to the national preceptor, and indeed, to this day, that man continued to uphold them faithfully. But alas, Wen Yuan had grown old, while the national preceptor remained in the vigor of his prime. The future was uncertain, no one could say what was to come. Therefore, the burden placed upon Qin Mu was to watch over the national preceptor. If that man could preserve his original intent, then all of Jiankang itself would be the heavenly saint sect. But if his heart ever strayed, then the heavenly saint sect must rise to take his place. Qin Mu could not help but marvel, indeed, the older the ginger, the spicier it burns. The depth of Patriarch Wen Yuan's foresight enlightened him greatly. The patriarch, seeing through every thought and action of his young successor, felt deeply reassured by this young sect master. Once the grand succession ceremony was complete, he would at last withdraw from the world. The national preceptor of Jiankang felt deep reluctance to part. After all, what feast in this world does not come to an end? To live is to join the banquet, to die is to take one's leave. The bond between the two men was both that of master and disciple, and that of friends and kindred spirits. They were confidants of the soul, and rivals worthy of each other. Afterward, Patriarch Wen Yuan resigned from his position as high priest, choosing not to remain within the sect to await the end of his mortal span. He wandered the mountains and rivers, savoring the peaceful twilight years of his life. Yet, tranquility never lasts. The Jiankang nation was suddenly besieged by the forces of Xiangshang, and a cataclysmic battle erupted. Though his cultivation could reach the heavens, Wen Yuan was now but a flickering lamp in the wind. At last, he fell in battle, his strength utterly spent. However, within the vast cosmos of Shepherd's divine canon, death has never been the end. The soul of Patriarch Wen Yuan drifted into Fengdu, where he reunited with the former sect masters of the heavenly demon sect. In the life that followed within Jiankang, Patriarch Wen Yuan and Daoist Lingjing stood side by side once more, blocking the descent of the 18 divine weapons. Daoist Lingjing's spirit was scattered to the winds, while Wen Yuan preserved a single thread of life force. In the end, he was reborn through reincarnation, returning to the heavenly saint sect to once again become its sect master in a new era. The life of the youthful Patriarch Wen Yuan was a grand epic, a song of protection and inheritance. He rose to shoulder the burdens of his sect in its time of peril, enduring hardship without complaint in his search for a worthy successor, and in the end, he sacrificed himself gloriously to safeguard the world. His spirit became a lighthouse, guiding Qin Mu along his path. Though his mortal body had fallen, he continued to fight with the faintest echo of his soul, to carry on his mission through reincarnation, and to use a life both tragic and magnificent to redefine the very meaning of the words, immortal. We read through hundreds of chapters just to summarize them for you in a few minutes. Admittedly, that's a bit reckless. So, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a like and a sub. Consider it a little coffee treat for our team. This video will end here.